عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Try that again. Can you hear me now? I feel like I'm in Zoom in Palestine. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والعاقبة للمتقين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على عبدك ورسولك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. It's an honor to be with you all here today. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept and to bless this gathering and to bless this organization and the incredible work that it is doing in a very short period of time. Sheikh Kifah is someone who has been around organizations for a long time and whose insight I trust. And he shared something with me. As I said, he said, this is an organization that I see going very far in a very short period of time. What they've accomplished in this short period of time is incredible. And I see it going places. So for someone like Sheikh Kifah, who has fundraised for all 3,600 or so Islamic organizations in the United States, to say with that much trust that this is an organization that is really promising, says a lot. So may Allah Azza wa Jal reward all of you that are behind this effort, and all of you that fund it, all of you that volunteer for it, and all of you that make it what it is and want to see what it can potentially become. Allahumma ameen. SubhanAllah, I remember going to a refugee camp visit, particularly in Jordan. And those of you that have gone to the refugee camps, and I'm going to start from the refugee camps in particular because I've never been allowed into Palestine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liberate it and allow us all to pray in a free and liberated Masjid al-Aqsa. Allahumma ameen. So I've been relegated to the refugee camps to see the situation over there. And I remember going to the Syrian refugee camps. May Allah Azza wa Jal help our brothers and sisters from Syria, in Al-Mafraq, in Al-Za'tari, and seeing their situation. And then those of you that are familiar with the refugee camps in Jordan, going to Al-Baqa and Jarash and seeing the situation of the Palestinian refugees. And I remember being struck by the mindset of the Palestinian refugees who had been there for decades at this point, yet seemed to exhibit, subhanAllah, a sense of resilience coupled with a sense of acceptance. You see, you can't have resilience if you don't have acceptance. And that's why, even from a spiritual perspective, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma mentions this connection between belief in Allah, belief in God and Tawheed, and belief in Qada and Qadar. That if a person establishes their belief in the idea of God's divine decree, then their belief in Allah is much easier to settle. But if they have issues there, then their entire worldview, their entire spiritual grounding of Tawheed, of monotheism, is going to be shook. So there's a resilience that's born out of a sense of acceptance. And what struck me was that they seemed to be some of the happiest people in the world. And they seemed to be absolutely determined to make something out of their situation. And I thought to myself, I've never seen in any refugee camp what I saw here in terms of the resilience. Now this is from someone who wishes that he could set foot, and inshallah ta'ala soon I will set foot, and I hope all of us will set foot in Palestine. But I can't imagine then the resilience of the people that are actually there. And resilience looks like many different things. Resilience can even look like a wedding. One of the things that sociologists will speak about in terms of the Palestinian cause within academia is that there was a miscalculation on the part of many of those who lended themselves to the occupation that Palestinian identity would die out within 50 or 60 years. This idea of a recurring intifada is very counterintuitive to many people in academia. This idea of a strong national identity that continues to manifest itself in every single part of the world and continues to show life, and in fact has a strong heartbeat, even though you look at that chart and you see the Palestinian territory shrinking, doesn't really make sense to them. And so when you see a people like the people of Gaza, لا يضرهم من خذلهم, who are never deterred by those who have betrayed them, And you see them still having weddings in the midst of a bombardment, going to Salatul Fajr, celebrating, going about their daily lives. Resilience manifests itself in many different ways. But when it comes to education in particular, we live in a time where you have competing causes that are flashing across your eyes. I was in Bosnia recently, and my mother, Allah yarhamha, was a poet. And she used to write a lot of poetry about Palestine, and she used to write a lot of poetry about Bosnia. Those of you that remember, Bosnia was front and center in the 1990s, and different causes around the world. And so it was deeply emotional for me, and I'm translating her poetry now from Arabic to English, inshallah ta'ala, and publishing this year. It was deeply emotional for me to go to Sarajevo and to Srebrenica and to see the people that my mother had written about, a Palestinian woman writing about Bosnian people in America, and to visit them. And when I met the foreign minister of Bosnia, just to drive home this point, she said to me, we're afraid right now because it's not like the 1990s. Where is Bosnia going to fit in the realm of international tragedies and crises if the Serbs were to resume their genocide attempt? Where is Bosnia going to fit in all of this? And so you have competing attention. You have this cause now flashes in front of you. This cause now flashes in front of you. You've been listening to the du'as, the supplications. It was Palestine and Bosnia, and then Shishan and Kashmir, and then it just kept expanding and expanded. Iraq, and it never stops. It seemingly never stops. It expands to Asleen, to the Uyghurs. It expands to Al-Hind. It expands to the Rohingya, one of the most forgotten peoples on earth. It just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. There's this idea that how do we keep up with all these causes? And so you have competing causes, constantly, noble causes. And you have to tell yourself that I'm going to be deeply present with any cause that has human tragedy that Allah puts in front of my eyes. I will not look past them. Because the Prophet ﷺ taught us to never look past. Never look past the people. Never look past the city. Never look past the individual. That every single person or place that flashes in front of you is worth your attention, because Allah decreed that to flash in front of your eyes before you were even born, and then you determine whether that flash in front of your eyes will penetrate your heart and soul or not. And the broader the buffet of catastrophe becomes, the harder it is for us to focus. Now, what does this mean for us as Palestinians in particular? We cannot expect anyone to pay attention to our cause more than we pay attention to our cause ourselves. And it's not the loss of attention, and I really did appreciate the idea of, it's not enough to just sing in the weddings and Adammi Falastini and to have our debka and to have our flags, and it's not enough to reduce Palestine to a symbol. Instead, we have to increase its proportionality to our investment. You're here because someone believed in you and believed you were worth their investment. That could even be your parents. Someone toiled so that you could have an education. Someone toiled so that you could have the best opportunity to succeed and to thrive, all with the divine providence above from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Someone believed that you were worth their time. Someone believed that you were worth their emotional energy. And as the land disappears, we have to understand that the voices that will continue to raise our plight are not going to be the voices of corrupt power brokers around the world. But it's going to be the people that are most impacted and that have the greatest determination and dedication to their cause, and that have a resilience that has been generated inside of them due to a combination of tragedy and blessing that none of us could possibly perceive. It's not going to be the governments here and there. It's going to be the young people that you decide are worth investing in, that continue to keep their cause alive, that can hold themselves in any room, that can hold themselves in any forum, that can hold themselves in any space, that can challenge any false narrative, that can take the cause of Palestine to every single part of the world so that it never dies, no matter what the land maps suggest. I'm going to tell you, by the way, and I'm saying this as a person who believes that the promise of Allah is true. Inna wa'dallahi haqq. I believe, without a doubt, I have full sincerity and certainty towards this cause in knowing that Allah has promised that it will be liberated. The only question is how it will be liberated, through whom it will be liberated, and all I want is to be a part of the how and the who. But I already know that the outcome of this is liberation because Allah promised it to us. And to me, إِنَّ النَّاسَ قَدْ جَمَعُوا لَكُمْ فَاخْشَوْهُمْ, that people have gathered, and look at the size, look at the obstacles. The size of the obstacle in front of you is there to only remind you that there is a Rabb, that there is a Lord that is greater than that obstacle. And so long as you keep your trust in that, the obstacle will shrink in your eye. That is not just meant to translate into some sort of spiritual energy that you have, or some sort of conviction, or something that you spit across the table in some sort of tea lounge or whatever it is, or at a wedding. That is meant to tell you that so long as you are engaged in al-akhdhu bil-asbab, in doing your part, tawakkal ala Allah, Allah is going to make it happen. And you want to be a part of that process. There is no doubt in my mind that part of the how that this is going to happen is going to be the young Palestinian ambassadors that we invest in Palestine, that then take that cause to every single part of the world, inshallah ta'ala, and demonstrate themselves with ethics and intelligence and integrity, and make sure that the world's conscience never forgets that there is a land of Palestine that beats in the hearts of every Muslim in the world, and not just every Muslim in the world. Every Palestinian in the world, but not just every Palestinian in the world. This cause is embedded within us. It literally flows through our blood. It literally flows through our blood. One of the poems that my mother had written, or at the end of it, was أنا من أرض فلسطين نبأت وفي كل الأرض زرعت ولكلمة الله أكبر سجدت. We were planted in different parts of the world, but we're going to bloom, inshaAllah ta'ala. But let's not forget to water the initial roots. It is Palestine, inshaAllah ta'ala, and the young people in Palestine that we will invest in, inshaAllah. So please support this work, support this organization. Again, I trust Sheikh Kifah's words deeply, and he didn't tell me go say that on stage. He was just telling me, as a matter of fact, that this is an organization that has a lot of promise to it. So I'm proud to support this organization, even in a short visit, inshaAllah ta'ala, and I ask Allah to put barakah in all of its efforts, and I ask Allah to bless all of the young, bright students to continue, inshaAllah ta'ala, to be a source of pride for all of us, and I hope that there'll be a source of great reward for all of you on the Day of Judgment. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you all very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.